It's Thursday, January 7, 2016, and very quick Gzilla report. I started writing my query letter today, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. And I tried to make it funny, and I tried to write it very much in the voice that the novel is written. This very sort of over the top hyperbole, um, uh, irreverent, and uh, and my and I was happy with my bio too. As I put it together, I was published in a lot of small press, like forever ago, and I suppose I could dig up my Vita and figure out what all those little magazines were. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, here's where I got my degrees. They're in English, creative writing. I won some contests at school. I know I had at least one thing published in Whiskey Island. And I taught English for 2 years as an adjunct professor. And I've been writing professionally for the past 10 years. So, you know, that's that's got to be, good enough credentials. And I really wanted to make sure that I put adjuncting in college in there because my market is new adult, and that's college kids and a little bit older. But I think I've got a really good grab, and I introduced the book. I say I've written a novel about nuns, crappy jobs, aliens, and Jesus, and that's sort of how I start the letter, and I think it's a good. First of all, it's an accurate description of the book, and it's an interesting juxtaposition of things. So now I just have to finish writing the book so I can start sending out queries. And I've done some more research about publishing, and I still think that going with an agent for a major publisher is the way to go. And this is the way I figure. Um, I only have to publish one book with a major publisher. Yeah, they're going to get a lot of the money and everything else, but if I can use that to build a name for myself, then once I have a platform, I can self-publish. You know, the one thing about independent, small indie press is that they go out of business. So I'm a little leery of just directly approaching an independent publishing house. I think that's really risky. I mean, publishing today, it's always been very cutthroat. The margins have always been very slim. My understanding is that basically 10% of all the writers who publish through a house, those writers are carrying everybody else. So it's the Stephen Kings and the Daniel Steeles of the world who are making enough money that they can roll the dice on new and unknown authors. So that's sort of what I did today. Just took care of a little bit of the business end. I've been thinking about my website and about a market. I've been thinking about my website and my social media platform and my content. I really should start keeping notes of ideas that I have. I'm going to have a blog too. I don't know how often I'm going to publish to it. I'm going to do a blog. I'm going to do video, and probably some other stuff too. I'm sure I'll try to interview people. One thing I wanted to do is I wanted to just have like a whole section that's about what I like to read and why I like those authors and just my takeaway from the books. And I think that'll be a good draw. I want to give people a lot. So, I mean, it's not just me. I want people to be able to go there and find something that's informative, entertaining, and with the video on, I'm going to have a YouTube channel, and I some of it I think is going to be this sort of ongoing journal of, sort of my thought process as I'm thinking through writing this book and kind of the the roadblocks that I hit and sort of how I get around that. And maybe get an idea of, like, this stuff takes time, you know. There are people who can plow through stuff. I used to be one of them, but not anymore. I just don't have the energy for it. So, and my brain just doesn't work that way anymore. But the other thing that I wanted to do with the YouTube channel was that I wanted to have some segments about depression and just some of really just some of my insights into it. And there's been a ton of stuff written out there. And a lot of it is, oh, you need to know what I'm going through. And that's really not that's not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, how do you live? You know, I have to say, I kind of don't care if people understand. Uh, I've got a husband who loves me and takes good care of me. I have very good doctors. I have been researching this disease for 16 years. You know, I understand, as you know, that's the important thing, is that I understand and I know how to take care of me and I know what's going on with me. And so I don't really need other people to, like, step into my shoes and feel what I feel. Frankly, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. So it's really going to be more about just living with it and what do you do, and what are the frustrations and how do you overcome things, and how, as a writer, do you create when this, which is your tool that you're using to create things, is broken, and or isn't just isn't working right. So, and that's, I think, depression is very common among writers. And so I think that this is something that a lot of people can relate to. But the other thing is, I I've seen this way back when I ran a big depression website on the internet a long time ago, depressiondepot.net. And there was always a lot of discussion about depression in writing, and people were sort of afraid to get better because they felt like the depression made their writing better because it made it very dark, and it sort of gave things this edge. And maybe because for some people, when you're depressed, you actually feel more raw. For me, I'm just numb. But for some people, maybe your emotions are heightened. And I have to say, from my own experience, that yes, I wrote a ton of stuff when I was depressed. And when I go back and look at it, it's crap. It's garbage. It's completely, what's the word? It's completely self-absorbed. It's navel-gazing. It's something that nobody but me is ever going to care about. And ideally, if you're an artist, a painter, a musician, a writer, a photographer, an actor, a singer, you want to share your art. You want other people to see it and experience it and enjoy it and respond to it. And so something that's about just complete self-absorption because you're just in such complete existential agony, how long does anybody want to hear about that or read about that? I've read a lot of illness memoirs, and I've read a lot of stuff about depression, and uh, the stuff that's out there that's really insightful and really sort of puts a different spin on things. I could probably count on one hand how many books or authors I've read that do that. So, that's just the reality. So I wanted to try and do something a little bit different. And I really kind of wanted to put it out there that um, if you're depressed and you're worried about taking meds because you think it's going to make you worse, well, just look at it this way. Your brain, your tool, is not working right. You need to fix it. And once you fix it, now you can do your best. It may not feel right because you've gotten very comfortable. It's you sort of start wallowing in the mud with yourself, and you start getting very comfortable with that. Even if it doesn't necessarily feel good, it's familiar and you know how to do it. And so it's uncomfortable in some respects to get well. It just seems like a paradox, but it's true. Change, even for the better, is stressful. So, but definitely, definitely, I would tell people, don't avoid taking medication or doing anything to relieve yourself of your depression because you think you think you're not going to be a good writer anymore. Um, I just don't think that's true, you know. So those are my thoughts for today. Tomorrow's Friday, thank goodness. And maybe tomorrow I'll talk a little bit about religion. Maybe that'll be my topic for tomorrow, because I am writing a book about nuns and religious zealots and something that looks like Jesus. And there are going to be people who have opinions about that. And I was very intimidated by that at first. But you know what's funny is my writers group, it's a bunch of women in their 50s and 60s. We got a few younger people, but not many. And almost all of them are church ladies. And I say that lovingly because they're all cool. They're all church ladies and they love this. And one of the women said, if you're not offending someone, you're not doing it right. So I took a lot of heart from that. I thought that was great. But I mean, I can just, assuming I'm fortunate enough to get published and actually have enough people read the book and think about it enough to actually care about anything that's in it, I foresee that there's going to be people who are very upset by some of the things that are in it. Think it's sacrilegious. It's gonna piss off Catholics. It's gonna piss off fundamentalist Christians. It's gonna piss off anybody who thinks that I'm making fun of Jesus. And I have all kinds of responses to those things. So maybe I'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow. But for today, it's not even 9 o'clock yet, but I'm already getting ready to go to bed. I'm tired. So maybe I'll check in tomorrow.